Get out, ghetto trash! Derek Paulson shoved Marcus Williams backward. The crystal glass exploded against the marble. Icy water drenched Zara Thompson Williams's cream coat. Every head in Elite Bistro turned. Marcus stumbled, catching himself on an empty chair. Zara stood frozen, designer fabric clinging to her skin. Water pooled at her feet. "You heard me!" Derek's finger jabbed the air inches from Marcus's face. "This isn't some street corner. Real money eats here." Phones materialized. A live stream counter climbed. 500, 800, 1,200 viewers. Marcus straightened his damp sweater. His watch, briefly visible, caught restaurant light. 10 minutes until Tokyo called back. "Security!" Derek bellowed. "Remove these people!" Zara's hand found Marcus's arm. Her touch steadied him. Have you ever been humiliated while strangers watched and laughed? The security guards emerged from the kitchen like sharks sensing blood. Black uniforms, radio static, hands resting on empty holster clips. Derek pointed at Marcus and Zara with theatrical disgust. "These two are trespassing. Escort them out." "We have a reservation," Zara said quietly. Her voice carried despite its softness. She held up her phone, the confirmation email glowing. "Thompson, party of 2, confirmed Tuesday." Derek snatched the phone, squinted at the screen, then handed it back dismissively. "System error. We don't serve walk-ins." "This isn't McDonald's," he announced to the dining room. His voice projected like a stage actor's. "We cater to Manhattan's finest." People who understand quality. The live stream on Table 12 exploded. Comments flooded the screen. "OMG, this is insane. Call the police. This is 2024, not 1954. Sarah Kim, food blogger at Table 8, had her camera trained on the scene. Her Instagram story already showed 15,000 views. The hashtag #EliteBistroShame was trending locally. Marcus checked his Patek Philippe. 9 minutes until the Tokyo call. The merger documents needed his signature by midnight Eastern. $3 billion hung in the balance. His phone buzzed. Unknown international number, probably London, following up on the pharmaceutical acquisition. He declined the call. "Sir, we need you to leave voluntarily," the first guard said. Professional tone, but his eyes held contempt. "Or we'll have to involve the authorities." Zara's Hermes bag sat abandoned on their reserved table. The hostess, barely 20, probably working her way through NYU, kept glancing between Derek and the couple. Her nameplate read Jennifer. Her hands trembled. "Mr. Paulson," Jennifer whispered. "Maybe we should check with corporate—" "Don't think." Derek's snap silenced her. "I run this floor. These people don't belong with our clientele." A woman in Chanel Table 4 leaned toward her companion. "Probably can't even afford appetizers." Her stage whisper carried perfectly. Phones captured every word. Marcus felt familiar heat rise in his chest. The same feeling from boarding school, from Harvard Business School, from 1,000 boardrooms where he'd been the only black face, where colleagues assumed he was there for diversity optics, not merit. But tonight was different. Tonight, he held leverage they couldn't imagine. His phone displayed 17 missed calls. Williams Holdings Tokyo office, London merger team, 3 board members. The pharmaceutical deal alone would create 1,200 jobs. The restaurant acquisition, now in jeopardy, represented 18 months of due diligence. 8 minutes, Marcus murmured to Zara. She understood. Her legal training kicked in. "We're documenting everything," she announced clearly. "This establishment's discriminatory practices will be thoroughly investigated." Derek laughed. Actually, I laughed. "Investigated by who? Your community organizer friends?" The second security guard, younger, less certain, shifted uncomfortably. "Maybe we should—" "We should remove trespassers," Derek interrupted, "before they disturb our real customers." Table 12's live stream hit 50,000 viewers. Comments poured in faster than the system could display them. Local news outlets were already reaching out to Sarah Kim for footage licensing. A distinguished couple at Table 6 whispered urgently. The man kept glancing at Marcus, frowning like he recognized something familiar. His wife tugged his sleeve, trying to redirect his attention. "I know him from somewhere," the man muttered. Marcus's valet ticket protruded from his jacket pocket. The number was partially visible. VIP001. The restaurant's premium service charged $200 for valet parking. Only their highest-value customers received single-digit numbers. 7 minutes, Marcus said softly. Derek stepped closer, invading personal space. His cologne was expensive, probably Creed, but couldn't mask the aggression radiating from his pores. "You're not intimidating anyone with your gangster routine." The room held its breath. Even the kitchen noise seemed muted. Marcus looked at Derek, really looked at him. Employee badge visible under his blazer. "Derek A. Paulson, ID number 4471. The details were burned into his memory from the background checks Williams Holdings ran on every property they considered acquiring. 3 discrimination complaints in 5 years. 2 settled out of court. The third, a pregnant Latina server, was still pending. "You seem very comfortable with this behavior," Marcus observed. His tone was conversational, almost friendly. "Is this standard protocol for elite restaurant group?" Something in his voice made Derek pause. A subtle shift in power dynamics. The live stream audience sensed it too. Comments started questioning who this couple really was. "Standard protocol is removing people who don't belong," Derek recovered. But his voice cracked slightly. Marcus smiled. Not a friendly smile. The smile he reserved for boardroom adversaries who didn't know they were already defeated. "Interesting definition of belonging," he said. His phone buzzed again. This time he glanced at the screen. The caller ID made several nearby diners gasp. Williams Holdings, Board of Directors. 6 minutes until Tokyo, Marcus said to Zara. She nodded, understanding the countdown's significance. The pharmaceutical acquisition would be announced at market open. Williams Holdings' stock would soar. The restaurant acquisition contingent on tonight's cultural assessment would either proceed or be permanently shelved. Derek noticed the crowd's shifting energy. The mockery was fading, replaced by uncertainty. Even his security guards looked less confident. "Who exactly are you people?" Derek demanded. Marcus pocketed his phone without answering. "We're customers who made a reservation." Nothing more, nothing less. But his calm confidence suggested otherwise. And Derek was finally beginning to realize he might have made a catastrophic mistake. Richard Sterling emerged from the manager's office like a general surveying a battlefield. Gray suit, silver hair, 40 years in hospitality management. His presence commanded immediate attention from staff and diners alike. "What's the situation, Derek?" His voice carried corporate authority honed by decades of crisis management. Derek straightened, suddenly formal. "Trespassers, sir. Refused to leave after I explained our establishment's dress code requirements." Marcus wore dark designer jeans and a cashmere sweater that cost more than most monthly salaries. Zara's outfit could have graced a Vogue cover shoot. Their combined clothing expenses exceeded what most people earned annually. "Dress code violations?" Richard examined them critically. His experienced eyes lingered on telling details. Zara's Italian leather shoes, Marcus's understated timepiece, the subtle luxury woven into every accessory they wore. Something fundamental didn't add up here. The live stream counter climbed relentlessly, 75,000 viewers and accelerating. Comments exploded across multiple social media platforms simultaneously. Number sign elite bistro racism was trending nationally now, far beyond local New York circles. "This is absolutely insane. Someone needs to call corporate immediately. These people look incredibly expensive AF. Why do they seem so unnaturally calm?" Something big is about to happen. Marcus's phone vibrated insistently against his chest. 5 minutes until Tokyo's critical deadline. The pharmaceutical merger couldn't wait indefinitely for restaurant drama, but something about tonight felt genuinely pivotal, significantly bigger than just another routine business acquisition. 5 minutes remaining, he murmured quietly to Zara. A new voice cut decisively through the mounting tension. "Excuse me, aren't you—" The distinguished gentleman from Table 6 approached with obvious hesitation. Dr. Michael Carter, according to the detailed reservation system Marcus had thoroughly memorized during 18 months of careful due diligence research. Pediatric surgeon at prestigious Mount Sinai Hospital. Estimated net worth $3.2 million according to Forbes healthcare rankings. I sincerely apologize for interrupting, Doctor. Carter continued uncertainly, but you look incredibly familiar to me. Have we perhaps met at a major medical conference or maybe during a hospital fundraising gala? Wrong person entirely, Marcus replied with practiced smoothness, but his penetrating eyes held Doctor. Carter's confused gaze for one moment too long. Recognition flickered unmistakably across the distinguished surgeon's weathered face. His concerned wife appeared immediately beside him, tugging his expensive sleeve with obvious embarrassment. "Michael, please leave them alone," she whispered urgently. "No, darling, I absolutely know I've seen him somewhere recently. Maybe featured in Forbes magazine? Or perhaps the Wall Street Journal's prominent business section." The restaurant's energy shifted perceptibly, like atmospheric pressure dropping before a devastating storm. Even Derek paused mid-gesture, creeping uncertainty finally infiltrating his previously aggressive posture. Sarah Kim's professional camera captured every nuanced detail. Her Instagram story had exploded exponentially to 100,000 views within minutes. Major news outlets were already flooding her DMs aggressively, offering substantial money for exclusive footage rights. Richard Sterling's finely tuned hospitality instincts finally triggered warning alarms. "Perhaps we should discuss this sensitive matter privately," he suggested diplomatically. "Our exclusive VIP dining room is immediately available for discreet conversations." "Absolutely not." Derek's sharp interruption shocked everyone present. "These specific people are leaving immediately, right now." His mounting desperation was becoming painfully obvious to trained observers. 3 formal discrimination complaints already stained his permanent employment record. One additional incident could definitively end his career in Manhattan's competitive fine dining industry forever. But backing down publicly now, humiliated in front of this crowded audience, would completely destroy his managerial authority permanently. The professional security guards flanked Marcus and Zara strategically. Calculated intimidation, practiced with military precision and obvious experience. "Sir, ma'am, we absolutely need you to accompany us immediately," the senior guard announced firmly. His experienced hand didn't actually touch his concealed weapon, but the underlying threat remained clearly implicit. Marcus felt Zara's manicured fingers brush his forearm gently. Her subtle touch carried an unmistakable message. Stay completely calm. Let them dig themselves deeper. 4 minutes until my crucial international call, Marcus stated quietly. But Derek had passed far beyond any semblance of rational thinking. Public humiliation had triggered something genuinely primal within his psyche. He stepped aggressively closer, his voice rising to near shouting levels. "I don't care remotely about your supposedly mysterious phone calls. This is exclusive Manhattan, not some housing projects. We serve society's genuine elite here, people possessing real money, authentic class, legitimate breeding." The venomous words hung heavily in the refined air like toxic poison gas. Table 12's live stream erupted into absolute chaos. The comment section became a cascading waterfall of outrage, support, and wild speculation. Celebrity accounts started sharing the stream frantically. A CNN senior producer was already en route from Midtown. Dr. Carter pulled out his latest iPhone, searching frantically through recent news. I absolutely know I've seen him somewhere. Recent major business news coverage, maybe? Something involving a massive corporate acquisition announcement? His increasingly worried wife grabbed his wrist desperately. Michael, please stop this. You're making everything significantly worse. But the dangerous seed was permanently planted now. Other wealthy diners started whispering urgently among themselves, comparing detailed notes. The mysterious man looked far too confident, unnaturally calm for someone facing ejection. His expensive watch was definitely luxury grade. The woman's bag wasn't that authentic Hermes. Jennifer, the nervous young hostess, finally discovered her trembling voice. Mr. Paulson, maybe we should double-check their reservation again carefully. Our computer system sometimes experiences technical glitches. The system functions perfectly fine. Derek's explosive shout silenced the entire restaurant completely. These people are obvious liars. Marcus's phone rang with crystal clarity. Tokyo's distinctive international number displayed prominently on the bright screen. He deliberately declined the urgent call, but not before several sharp-eyed diners noticed the clearly visible international country prefix. 3 minutes remaining, he announced calmly. Richard Sterling's well-developed corporate instincts were screaming desperate warnings now. The viral live stream, the crowd's dramatically shifting mood, the mysterious couple's completely unnatural calm everything suggested a potential disaster rapidly approaching. Derek, perhaps we should carefully reconsider. Never. Derek was completely past rational listening. I won't allow street thugs to intimidate my dedicated staff. Security, remove them immediately. The guards moved forward decisively. This was the critical moment. Actual physical contact would escalate everything far beyond any possible repair. Legal liability would skyrocket exponentially. The live stream audience held its collective breath. Marcus raised his hand slightly. Not remotely threatening, just a patient gesture of calm restraint. Before you do something completely irreversible, he said quietly, you might want to seriously consider the potential consequences. His tone was fundamentally different now, not pleading or defensive anymore. The unmistakable voice of someone accustomed to being immediately obeyed. Derek's hollow laugh echoed through the restaurant. Consequences? What are you going to do, sue us with your public defender? Marcus smiled. Not the polite smile he'd worn all evening. Something colder, more predatory. Richard Sterling, General Manager, Elite Restaurant Group, Employee ID number 2847, hired September 2018. Annual salary $120,000 plus performance bonuses. His voice carried absolute certainty. Derek Paulson, Floor Manager, ID number 4471, hired January 2019. Salary, $85,000. 3 prior complaints for discriminatory behavior filed with Human Resources. The restaurant froze. Richard's face was completely drained of color. Derek stumbled backward like he'd been physically struck. How do you... Richard started. Jennifer Martinez, hostess. Marcus's gaze shifted to the trembling young woman. NYU student, art history major, works 26 hours weekly to pay tuition. I started here 8 months ago. Clean employment record. Jennifer's mouth fell open. Dr. Carter's phone clattered against his table. The Wall Street Journal article blazed on his screen. Williams Holdings announces $3.2 billion pharmaceutical acquisition. CEO Marcus Williams revolutionizes healthcare access. Oh my God, Dr. Carter whispered. Then louder. Oh my God! His wife leaned over, reading frantically. Her sharp intake of breath was audible across the silent dining room. The live stream exploded. Comments flooded the screen faster than the system could process. Williams Holdings? The billionaire Marcus Williams? Holy shit, they messed with the wrong people. This is insane. Marcus pulled out his phone with deliberate calm. The movement was theatrical, practiced. He dialed a number from memory. Cancel the Elite Restaurant Group acquisition meeting, he said clearly. His voice carried to every corner of the restaurant. Permanently. The words hit Derek like a physical blow. His legs buckled slightly. Mr. Williams. Richard Sterling stepped forward, corporate panic flooding his features. That's Chairman Williams, Zara corrected quietly. She opened her Hermes bag with practiced grace, withdrawing a business card. Simple, elegant. Zara Thompson Williams, Chief Legal Officer, Williams Holdings. The card passed from hand to hand among nearby tables. Whispers exploded into urgent conversations. Williams Holdings generated $47 billion in revenue last year, Marcus continued conversationally. This establishment? According to our due diligence reports, Elite Restaurant Group manages 47 locations with combined annual revenue of $230 million. He paused, letting the numbers sink in. We generate more profit in 18 hours than your entire company earns annually. Derek's face was ashen. The security guards had stepped back instinctively, recognizing the shift in power dynamics. Sarah Kim's camera captured every moment. Her hands trembled as she filmed. This wasn't just viral content anymore. This was history. The pharmaceutical merger I mentioned? Marcus checked his watch. 2 minutes until final signatures. That single transaction will create 1,200 jobs and reduce medication costs for 40 million Americans. His phone rang. Tokyo's international number. But first, Marcus said, declining the call again, let's discuss your establishment's operational metrics. The restaurant was dead silent. Even the kitchen noise had ceased. Elite Restaurant Group. 15% market share in premium Manhattan dining. Williams Holdings currently controls 34% of your parent company's debt structure through our subsidiary financial instruments. Richard Sterling's corporate training kicked in. Mr. Williams, I sincerely apologize for this misunderstanding. Misunderstanding? Marcus's tone remained conversational, almost friendly, but his eyes were ice. Your floor manager physically assaulted me, called my wife ghetto trash, attempted to have us forcibly removed while customers filmed and laughed. The live stream counter hit 200,000 viewers. Major news networks were going live with the story. # Elite Bistro Racism was trending globally. We weren't here for dinner tonight, Zara said quietly. Her legal training made every word precise. We were conducting a final cultural assessment before approving the acquisition. The revelation hit the room like a bomb. Cultural assessment? Someone whispered. Marcus nodded. Williams Holdings doesn't acquire companies with discriminatory practices. We were evaluating whether Elite Restaurant Group aligned with our corporate values. He gestured around the dining room. You just provided a comprehensive demonstration. Derek found his voice, though it cracked. You tricked us. We made a reservation under my wife's maiden name. We dressed casually but appropriately. We behaved politely despite provocation. Marcus's tone never varied. We did absolutely nothing except exist while black. Dr. Carter stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against marble. I knew I recognized you. The Forbes interview last month, your foundation donated $50 million to medical research. Other diners started connecting dots frantically. Phones emerged as people searched for information about Williams Holdings, about Marcus and Zara, about the acquisition they'd just witnessed being canceled. The merger you just cost this restaurant, Marcus continued, $500 million. 47 locations, 1,800 employees, 12,000 annual jobs supported through supply chains. Derek's legs finally gave out. He sank into an empty chair. But the real cost, Zara added, her legal mind calculating, will be the discrimination lawsuit. We have 47 minutes of high-definition footage from multiple angles. Security cameras, live streams, professional photography. She gestured toward Sarah Kim's camera. clear violations of New York human rights law, Civil Rights Act Title VII, and multiple federal anti-discrimination statutes. Richard Sterling was sweating now. Surely we can reach some accommodation. Accommodation? Marcus's smile returned, still cold. You want to accommodate us now? The phones at nearby tables buzzed constantly. News alerts, social media notifications, messages from friends who'd seen the viral footage. Jennifer, the hostess, stepped forward hesitantly. Mr. Williams, I'm so sorry. I tried to check the reservation again, but Mr. Paulson wouldn't let me. You have nothing to apologize for, Jennifer, Marcus said gently. His tone softened for the first time all evening. You showed integrity under pressure. Then his attention returned to Derek and Richard. The warmth vanished. As of tonight, you have 24 hours to implement comprehensive anti-discrimination reforms, or Williams Holdings will trigger acceleration clauses on $180 million in outstanding debt obligations held by your parent company. The legal language hit Richard like cold water. He understood corporate leverage when he heard it. Additionally, Zara continued, we'll be filing formal complaints with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, New York Human Rights Commission, and initiating civil litigation for punitive damages. The live stream audience was in complete chaos. Comments poured in from celebrities, politicians, civil rights leaders. The story was spreading faster than wildfire. Marcus's phone buzzed again. Tokyo again. 1 minute until the pharmaceutical merger deadline, he announced. That transaction will proceed as scheduled. But this... He gestured around the restaurant. This ends here. Derek finally found words. I didn't know who you were. Marcus stared at him for a long moment. That's exactly the problem, he said quietly. You should treat every customer with dignity, regardless of who they are. The fact that you're only apologizing because of our wealth proves you learned nothing. He turned to Zara. Ready? She nodded, gathering her bag with practiced elegance. The merger documents are waiting, Marcus said to the room. $3 billion in healthcare innovation, 1,200 jobs, 40 million Americans with access to affordable medication. He paused at the restaurant entrance. That work continues, but some lessons apparently need to be taught the hard way. The door closed behind them with a soft click. The restaurant erupted into chaos. The pharmaceutical merger call lasted exactly 18 minutes. Marcus signed the documents electronically while standing in Elite Bistro's marble lobby, his digital signature authorizing $3.2 billion in healthcare innovation. Tokyo confirmed receipt. London validated regulatory compliance. The largest medical acquisition in Williams Holdings history was complete. Zara coordinated with their legal team simultaneously. 3 senior partners from Cravath, Swain, and Moore were already en route from Midtown. The discrimination case would be filed within hours. Inside the restaurant, chaos reigned. Richard Sterling paced frantically, his phone pressed to his ear. Yes, sir. I understand the gravity. No, sir, I didn't realize who they were. The live stream has how many viewers? Corporate headquarters was in full crisis mode. The Elite Restaurant Group board had convened an emergency session. Stock prices were already dropping in after-hours trading as news broke across financial networks. Derek sat motionless at table 14, staring at his hands. 3 discrimination complaints in 5 years. Now this. His career in hospitality was finished. No fine dining establishment in Manhattan would touch him after tonight. Dr. Carter had become an unofficial narrator for the live stream audience, providing context about Williams Holdings' business empire. This is the same Marcus Williams who revolutionized pharmaceutical distribution in Africa. His foundation provides free medical care to 2 million people annually. The comments section exploded with research. Williams Holdings owns 23% of major pharmaceutical companies. His wife graduated Harvard Law, top 1% of her class. They donated $100 million to civil rights organizations last year. This restaurant just messed with the wrong people. Sarah Kim's Instagram story had become a news event unto itself. CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News were all requesting exclusive interviews. She'd gained 40,000 followers in 20 minutes. Marcus and Zara returned to the restaurant exactly 1 hour later. The scene was dramatically different. Richard Sterling stood near the entrance with two men in expensive suits, clearly corporate damage control. Derek was nowhere to be seen. Jennifer, the hostess, looked relieved to see them. Mr. Williams, Mrs. Williams, Richard began formally. I'd like to introduce— We know who they are, Marcus interrupted calmly. James Morrison, Chief Executive Officer, Elite Restaurant Group, net worth approximately $12 million. David Carter, General Counsel. Both flew in from corporate headquarters within the last 45 minutes. Morrison stepped forward, extending his hand. Marcus didn't take it. Mr. Williams, on behalf of Elite Restaurant Group, I offer our sincerest apologies for tonight's inexcusable behavior. We're prepared to make this situation right. Interesting choice of words, Zara observed. Her legal training made every syllable precise. Making it right implies acknowledging wrongdoing. Are you prepared to admit your employees violated federal anti-discrimination laws? Morrison exchanged glances with his lawyer. We're prepared to discuss reasonable accommodations. This isn't a negotiation, Marcus stated. His tone remained conversational but carried unmistakable authority. This is a notification of consequences. He gestured toward the still active live stream. The viewer count had stabilized around 300,000, with thousands more watching replays across social media platforms. Your employee physically assaulted me while customers filmed and laughed. He used racist language, attempted intimidation, and created a hostile environment. This occurred in front of multiple witnesses with comprehensive documentation. Morrison tried again. Perhaps we could handle this privately. Privacy? Zara's laugh was sharp. Your manager made this public when he shouted racial slurs in a crowded restaurant. The footage is already viral. CNN is leading their evening broadcast with this story. She opened her legal briefcase, withdrawing a thick document. Williams Holdings has compiled a comprehensive analysis of discriminatory practices across your 47 locations. This isn't isolated to tonight's incident. The legal document contained 18 months of investigative research, secret shoppers, employment discrimination complaints, customer testimonials, and systematic analysis of treatment disparities. Location 17, Chicago. Black customers waited an average of 12 minutes longer for seating than white customers with identical reservations. Morrison's face paled. Location 23, Boston. 3 black employees filed discrimination complaints in 2 years. All were settled with non-disclosure agreements. The data was devastating, precise, legally bulletproof. Location 31, Los Angeles. Security called on black customers at 5 times the rate of white customers, despite no statistical difference in complaint rates. David Carter, the corporate lawyer, finally spoke. These allegations require thorough investigation. Investigation? Marcus pulled out his phone, displaying a recorded conversation. This is Derek Paulson, recorded 2 hours ago, admitting to deliberately targeting minority customers for removal. He bragged about keeping the riffraff out to maintain the restaurant's exclusive atmosphere. The recording was devastating. Derek's voice, clear and unmistakable, detailing his discriminatory practices with casual pride. Morrison looked physically ill. Here's what's going to happen, Marcus continued. Elite Restaurant Group has 24 hours to implement the Williams Protocol Comprehensive Anti-Discrimination Reforms designed by our corporate responsibility team. Zara distributed printed copies of the protocol, 43 pages of detailed requirements. Mandatory bias training for all employees, conducted quarterly with independent assessment. Anonymous reporting systems monitored by civil rights organizations. Diversity requirements for management positions, minimum 40% representation from underrepresented communities. Morrison scanned the document frantically. These requirements would cost millions to implement. Implementation cost, approximately $8 million annually, Marcus confirmed. Alternative cost, losing $180 million in accelerated debt payments, plus punitive damages from federal discrimination lawsuits, plus complete destruction of your corporate reputation. The math was simple. Devastating, but simple. Additionally, Zara continued, Williams Holdings will establish an independent monitoring board with authority to conduct unannounced assessments. 3 civil rights attorneys, 2 community leaders, 1 former EECC commissioner. Customer advocacy program with direct reporting to our legal team. Any discrimination complaint receives immediate investigation with findings published publicly. AI-powered monitoring systems analyzing customer service patterns for statistical disparities. Voice recognition software flagging potentially discriminatory language. Morrison's lawyer whispered urgently in his ear, corporate calculation at its most basic level. The pharmaceutical merger I completed tonight, Marcus said conversationally, generates more profit in 6 hours than your entire restaurant chain earns annually. This isn't about money for us. It's about justice. He gestured toward the live stream camera, still recording. 300,000 people watched your employee call us ghetto trash tonight. They saw him physically assault me. They heard him say, "We don't belong in polite society." Those same 300,000 people will watch your response. They'll judge whether your apologies translate into actual change. Jennifer, the hostess, approached hesitantly. Mr. Williams, may I say something? Marcus nodded encouragingly. I've worked here for 8 months. I've seen managers treat customers differently based on race. I was afraid to report it because I need this job for school. Her voice grew stronger. But tonight, watching you handle this with such dignity, I want to testify. I want to help make sure this never happens again. Other staff members began coming forward. A server who'd witnessed discriminatory seating practices. A bartender who'd heard managers make racist jokes. A cook who'd seen minority employees passed over for promotions. The dam was breaking. Morrison realized his company faced a catastrophic reckoning. Not just from Williams Holdings, but from their own employees, from customers, from a viral moment that had exposed systemic problems. We'll implement the Williams Protocol, he said finally. Full compliance within 30 days. Excellent, Marcus replied. Our legal team will monitor implementation personally. Zara added the final hammer blow. Derek Paulson is terminated, effective immediately. His discriminatory practices will be reported to industry associations, ensuring he cannot simply move to another establishment. Richard Sterling receives mandatory counseling and probation. Any future complaints result in immediate termination. This location will become our flagship demonstration site. Every other restaurant chain will study your transformation as a model for industry-wide change. Morrison nodded grimly. The alternative corporate destruction was unacceptable. The live stream audience watched history unfold in real time. Not just justice for 2 individuals, but systematic change affecting thousands of workers and millions of customers. Marcus checked his watch. The pharmaceutical merger was already generating headlines in Asian markets. 1,200 jobs created. Medication costs are reduced for 40 million Americans. But tonight's real victory was smaller and larger simultaneously. 2 people demanding dignity and winning it for everyone. 30 days, he repeated to Morrison. Our legal team will be watching. The corporate executives departed like men walking to their executions, necessary but painful. The restaurant gradually returned to normal service, but nothing would ever be the same. Jennifer smiled as she seated new customers, a young interracial couple who'd arrived nervously, having seen the viral footage. "Welcome to Elite Bistro," she said warmly. Your table is ready immediately. Change was already beginning. Zara distributed professionally printed copies of the comprehensive Williams Protocol to every person present. 43 pages of meticulously detailed requirements, each section crafted by civil rights attorneys and organizational psychologists. Morrison scanned the document frantically, his corporate lawyer reading over his shoulder with growing alarm. These extensive requirements would cost millions annually to implement across our entire organization. Implementation cost, approximately $8 million annually, Marcus confirmed without hesitation or negotiation. Alternative cost, losing $180 million in accelerated debt payments, plus punitive damages from multiple federal discrimination lawsuits, plus complete destruction of your corporate reputation and customer base. The mathematical calculation was elegantly simple in its devastating clarity. Additionally, Zara continued with precise legal authority, Williams Holdings will establish an independent monitoring board with unrestricted authority to conduct unannounced assessments at any location, any time. 3 experienced civil rights attorneys, 2 respected community leaders, 1 former Equal Employment Opportunity Commission commissioner. She turned to the next page of requirements. Customer advocacy program with direct reporting mechanisms to our legal team. Any discrimination complaint receives immediate investigation with findings published publicly on our corporate transparency website within 72 hours. AI-powered monitoring systems analyzing customer service patterns for statistical disparities across demographic groups. Advanced voice recognition software flagging potentially discriminatory language in real time with automatic incident reports. Morrison's expensive lawyer whispered urgently in his ear. Corporate survival calculation at its most fundamental level. The pharmaceutical merger I completed tonight, Marcus said conversationally, generates more net profit in 6 hours than your entire restaurant chain earns annually. This isn't about money for us. It's about systematic justice. He gestured toward the live stream camera, still recording everything for posterity. 300,000 people watched your employee call us ghetto trash tonight. They witnessed him physically assault me. They heard him declare we don't belong in civilized society. Those same 300,000 people will now watch your corporate response. They'll judge whether your public apologies translate into genuine, measurable change. Jennifer, the young hostess, approached hesitantly but with growing confidence. Mr. Williams, may I say something publicly? Marcus nodded encouragingly, recognizing her courage. I've worked here for 8 months while attending NYU. I've personally witnessed managers treat customers differently based entirely on race. I was afraid to report these incidents because I desperately need this job to pay for school. Her voice grew stronger with each word. But tonight, watching you both handle this situation with such incredible dignity and strategic intelligence, I want to testify. I want to help ensure this discriminatory behavior never happens again to anyone. Other staff members began coming forward spontaneously, a server who'd witnessed discriminatory seating practices for months, a bartender who'd overheard managers making racist jokes during staff meetings, a cook who'd seen minority employees consistently passed over for promotions despite superior performance. The dam was breaking completely. Morrison realized his company faced a catastrophic reckoning, not just from Williams Holdings' legal and financial power, but from their own employees, from customers, from a viral moment that had exposed deep systemic problems across their entire organization. We'll implement the Williams Protocol immediately, he said, finally, corporate defeat evident in his voice. Full compliance within 30 days maximum. Excellent decision, Marcus replied calmly. Our legal team will monitor implementation progress personally. Zara added the final legal hammer blow. Derek Paulson is terminated immediately, effective tonight. His discriminatory practices will be reported to industry associations, ensuring he cannot simply relocate to another hospitality establishment. Richard Sterling receives mandatory professional counseling and 6-month probation. Any future discrimination complaints result in immediate termination without severance. This specific location will become our flagship demonstration site. Every other restaurant chain will study your transformation as a model for industry-wide systematic change. Morrison nodded grimly. The alternative, complete corporate destruction, was absolutely unacceptable. The live stream audience watched history unfold in real time, not just justice for two individuals, but systematic change affecting thousands of workers and millions of future customers. Within 2 hours, the Williams Protocol was already being studied by major corporations nationwide. McDonald's legal team requested copies. Starbucks initiated emergency diversity meetings. The National Restaurant Association announced mandatory bias training for all members. Marcus checked his expensive watch. The pharmaceutical merger was generating positive headlines in Asian markets. 1,200 jobs were created immediately. Medication costs are reduced for 40 million Americans. Stock prices are rising globally, but tonight's real victory was simultaneously smaller and larger. Two people demanding basic dignity and winning systemic change for everyone. 30 days for full compliance, Marcus repeated to Morrison with quiet authority. Our legal team will be monitoring closely. The corporate executives departed like defeated generals, carrying the Williams Protocol like terms of surrender. Necessary corporate transformation, but professionally painful. The restaurant gradually returned to normal service operations, but absolutely nothing would ever be the same. Jennifer smiled warmly as she seated new arriving customers. A young interracial couple who'd arrived nervously, having seen the viral footage spreading across social media. "Welcome to Elite Bistro," she said with genuine warmth and professional respect. "Your table is ready immediately, and we're honored to serve you tonight." Change was already beginning visibly. Dr. Carter approached Marcus and Zara as they prepared to leave. "I wanted to personally apologize for not speaking up sooner when I recognized the discrimination happening." "Your recognition helped validate our experience," Marcus replied graciously. "Sometimes witnesses are as important as advocates." Sarah Kim, the food blogger, had become an overnight sensation. Her Instagram followers had grown to over 100,000 in 3 hours. Major networks were offering exclusive interview contracts. "Would you be willing to do a follow-up story?" she asked respectfully. "Document the transformation process?" Zara smiled. "We'd be honored. Transparency creates accountability." The Williams Protocol implementation began immediately. Week 1, emergency bias training for all staff. Professional facilitators brought in from the Anti-Defamation League. Role-playing exercises. Sensitivity workshops. Cultural competency education. Week 2, anonymous reporting system launched. Respect Watch, mobile app allowing customers and employees to report discrimination incidents directly to civil rights monitors. Week 3, management restructuring announced. 40% of leadership positions are reserved for underrepresented communities. Salary transparency implemented. Performance metrics tied to inclusion goals. Week 4, Community Advisory Board established. Local NAACP president. Rabbi from nearby synagogue, imam from Islamic center, disability rights advocate. Monthly meetings are mandatory. The changes were comprehensive, systematic, and permanent. 3 weeks later, Marcus and Zara returned to Elite Bistro unannounced. Different clothes, casual Friday evening, normal reservation under Williams Holdings' corporate account. Jennifer recognized them immediately and smiled broadly. "Mr. and Mrs. Williams, welcome back. Your table is ready and we have several new menu items we think you'll love." The service was impeccable, professional, warm, respectful, no different from treatment given to every other customer. Derek's replacement, Maria Rodriguez, greeted them personally. "It's an honor to serve you tonight. Our staff has been looking forward to demonstrating our commitment to excellence for all guests." The transformation was remarkable. Other customers, diverse groups who might have previously felt unwelcome dined comfortably. The atmosphere was genuinely inclusive, professionally excellent, and authentically respectful. During dessert, Morrison approached their table nervously but respectfully. "Mr. Williams, Mrs. Williams, I wanted to personally thank you. Customer satisfaction scores have increased 34% since implementing the Williams protocol. Employee turnover has decreased 47%. Our reputation has actually improved significantly." Marcus smiled. Dignity and profit aren't mutually exclusive. They're mutually reinforcing. We're receiving requests from restaurant chains nationwide asking for implementation guidance. Your approach is becoming an industry standard. Zara added, "That was always the goal. Systematic change, not just individual justice." 6 months later, the Williams Protocol had been adopted by over 200 restaurant chains nationwide. Discrimination complaints decreased 89% across participating establishments. Customer satisfaction increased measurably. Employee retention improved dramatically. The hashtag dignity in dining became a permanent advocacy movement. Customers began actively choosing restaurants with Williams Protocol certification. Marcus and Zara's foundation established annual scholarships for hospitality students from underrepresented communities. 500 recipients in the first year. The pharmaceutical company they'd acquired during the crisis continued revolutionizing healthcare access globally. Medication costs are reduced for millions of patients worldwide. But the most important change was cultural. The understanding that respect and dignity weren't negotiable luxuries, but fundamental human rights that successful businesses actively protect. The restaurant industry would never be the same. 6 months after that transformative Friday evening, the ripple effects continued expanding across multiple industries. The Williams Protocol had become the gold standard for corporate anti-discrimination practices. Harvard Business School included it in their MBA curriculum. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission recommended it as best practice guidelines. International corporations were adapting it for global implementation. Marcus stood before the United Nations Human Rights Council in Geneva, delivering the keynote address on systematic discrimination in business practices. The pharmaceutical merger had generated $4.7 billion in revenue while reducing medication costs for 60 million patients worldwide. But tonight's speech focused on something more fundamental. True power, he told the Assembly of World Leaders, isn't the ability to destroy those who wrong you. It's the wisdom to transform systems so they serve everyone with dignity. The audience of diplomats and activists gave him a standing ovation. Zara had been nominated for the NAACP Legal Defense Fund's highest honor. Her discrimination case had set legal precedents now cited in federal courts nationwide. 3 Supreme Court justices referenced her documentation methods in recent civil rights decisions. Back in Manhattan, Elite Bistro had become an unlikely pilgrimage site. Civil rights leaders brought their families for dinner, not just to support the restaurant's transformation, but to experience what inclusive excellence looked like in practice. The establishment had earned Michelin recognition, not just for culinary quality, but for revolutionary hospitality practices. Jennifer had graduated NYU with highest honors. Williams Holdings offered her a full scholarship to Harvard Law School. She accepted, planning to specialize in employment discrimination law. "Watching you both that night changed my entire life trajectory," she told Marcus during her scholarship interview. "I learned that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's choosing justice despite fear." Dr. Carter had become an unexpected advocate. His medical practice now offered free consultations to discrimination victims experiencing stress-related health issues. He'd testified in 17 civil rights cases, providing expert medical testimony about racism's psychological impact. Sarah Kim's food blog had evolved into a comprehensive platform documenting social justice in the hospitality industry. Major publishers were competing to secure book rights for her account of that transformative evening. Derek Paulson had disappeared from New York entirely. Industry background checks ensured he couldn't find employment in hospitality anywhere. His LinkedIn profile showed intermittent contract work, far from customer-facing roles. The price of systematic racism was personal and professional exile. Richard Sterling had completed his mandatory counseling and emerged genuinely transformed. He now led bias training workshops for restaurant managers nationwide, sharing his personal story of awakening and accountability. "I spent 20 years in hospitality thinking I was professional," he told the audience. "That night, I learned the difference between polite service and dignified respect." Morrison's corporate leadership had become a model for crisis transformation. Elite Restaurant Group's stock price had reached all-time highs. Customer loyalty increased dramatically when people felt genuinely welcomed and respected. The broader impact was immeasurable. Over 500 restaurant chains had implemented Williams Protocol standards. The National Restaurant Association reported an 89% reduction in discrimination complaints across participating establishments. Customer satisfaction scores increased 34% on average. The hashtag #DIGNITYINDINING has generated over 50 million social media interactions. Restaurant workers shared stories of positive workplace transformations. Customers documented instances of inclusive service excellence. But the most profound change was generational. Young hospitality workers were entering the industry with completely different expectations. Discrimination wasn't just morally wrong, it was professionally unacceptable and financially destructive. Marcus and Zara's foundation had expanded beyond scholarships. They'd established the Center for Dignified Commerce at Columbia Business School, researching the intersection of social justice and economic success. Their annual report demonstrated conclusively that businesses prioritizing dignity and inclusion consistently outperformed competitors in profitability, employee retention, and customer loyalty. The pharmaceutical company they'd acquired during the crisis had revolutionized global healthcare access. Generic medications were now available in 43 developing countries. Pediatric cancer treatments reached underserved communities worldwide. 1 year later, Marcus and Zara returned to Elite Bistro for their wedding anniversary dinner. The transformation was complete and permanent. The staff was diverse, professional, and genuinely welcoming to every customer. The atmosphere buzzed with authentic hospitality excellence. Maria Rodriguez, now general manager, greeted them personally. "Mr. and Mrs. Williams, welcome home. We've prepared a special menu celebrating 1 year of the Williams Protocol implementation." During dinner, they reflected on that pivotal evening. "Did you imagine it would lead to all this?" Zara asked, gesturing around the bustling, inclusive restaurant. Marcus smiled, remembering his initial anger and humiliation. "I hoped for justice. We achieved transformation." "The pharmaceutical merger was business," she continued. "But this changing how millions of people experience dignity is a legacy." Their quiet conversation was interrupted by applause. The entire restaurant was acknowledging their presence, not as billionaires or celebrities, but as catalysts for positive change. A young black family at a nearby table waved gratefully. Their teenage daughter approached shyly. "My mom wanted me to thank you," she said. "She was afraid to bring us to places like this before. Now we eat wherever we want, and people treat us with respect." Marcus felt tears in his eyes. This was why the confrontation mattered. Not revenge against Derek or corporate victory over Morrison, but ensuring this girl could grow up expecting dignity as her birthright. As they left that evening, Zara squeezed Marcus's hand. "We didn't seek revenge," she said softly. "We demanded justice. And we got systematic change instead. The valet, a young man who'd been promoted from busboy after Williams Protocol implementation, brought their car around with professional pride. "Thank you for everything," he said simply. "This job actually pays for my college now, and customers treat me with respect." Driving home through Manhattan's glittering streets, Marcus reflected on Power's true purpose. They could have destroyed Derek personally, crushed the restaurant financially, humiliated Morrison publicly. Instead, they'd chosen transformation over vengeance. Systematic change over individual punishment. Legacy over immediate satisfaction. The most powerful response to hate wasn't anger. It was strategic action, creating lasting change. Have you witnessed discrimination in public spaces? Share your story in the comments below. Your voice matters. When we document injustice, we create accountability. Subscribe to Black Voices Uncut for more stories of quiet power triumphing over systematic bias. Remember, the most powerful response to hate isn't anger. It's strategic action that creates lasting change for everyone.
At Black Voices Uncut, we don't polish away the pain or water down the message. We tell it like it is because the truth deserves nothing less. If today's story spoke to you, click like, join the conversation in the comments, and subscribe so you'll be here for the next Uncut Voice.